There's a moment in every life when the illusion finally cracks, when the relentless pursuit of becoming someone else, somewhere else, someone else suddenly feels hollow, when the mind's endless chatter about past regrets and future anxieties falls silent, and you're left with something so simple yet so profound it takes your breath away. This moment, right here, right now. The mystics call it awakening. The psychologists call it presence. But perhaps the most beautiful truth is that it's not something you achieve. It's something you already are. You've been carrying this luminous awareness within you all along, beneath the layers of conditioning, beneath the stories you tell yourself about who you think you should be. The question isn't how to find it. The question is, are you ready to stop running from it? We begin our lives as pure awareness, don't we? Watch a baby sometime, really watch them. They exist in a state of complete presence, completely absorbed in the texture of a blanket, the play of light on a wall, the sound of their own breathing. They haven't yet learned to divide the world into self and other, into past and future, into should and shouldn't. They simply are. And in that being, there's a quality of love that's unconditional, a kind of loving awareness that doesn't need an object to love or a reason to be aware. It just is. But somewhere along the way we forget. We learn language, and with it comes the great division. I and you, mine and yours, good and bad. We learn to think, and thinking becomes a tool for survival, for getting what we want, for avoiding what we don't want. We learn to plan and worry and regret. We learn to be somebody, to have an identity, to protect that identity at all costs. And slowly, so slowly we don't even notice, we drift away from that original state of pure being. This forgetting isn't a mistake, it's part of the human journey. It's like we're all born knowing how to swim in the ocean of consciousness, but we forget as we learn to walk on land. We trade our natural buoyancy for the ability to navigate the world of form, of relationships, of work and money, and all the things that make up what we call real life. And for a while this works. We achieve things, we love people, we build lives that look meaningful from the outside. But then something happens. Maybe it's a loss, a betrayal, a moment of profound loneliness. Maybe it's success that feels empty, or love that doesn't fill the hole inside. Maybe it's just the quiet recognition that no matter how much you accumulate or achieve, there's still something missing. And in that moment of recognition, you begin to remember what you forgot. You begin to sense that there's something more, something deeper, something that was there before you learned to be afraid and has been waiting patiently for you to come home. This is the great paradox of spiritual life. We spend our whole lives trying to get back to where we started, but we can only appreciate it because we left. The innocence of the baby is beautiful, but it's unconscious. The awareness you're moving toward is conscious innocence, aware love, presence that knows itself as presence. People act the same, but you meet them differently. Your life continues, but you live it differently. You're still you, but you know who you really are. And in that knowing, there's a peace that surpasses understanding, a joy that doesn't depend on circumstances, a love that includes everything and excludes nothing. You're home, you've always been home, and you can never not be home. This is the good news, the ultimate truth, the deepest teaching. You are love, you are awareness, you are home. So rest now, rest in what you are, rest in the love that you are. Rest in the awareness that has never left you, that is reading these words right now, that will be with you always because it is you, always. You don't need to go anywhere or do anything or become anyone. You just need to be what you already are, love what you already are, and know what you've always known. We're all just walking each other home, and home is here, home is now, home is what you are. Welcome home, beloved. You've never actually left. You're not trying to go backward. You're spiraling forward into a deeper understanding of what you've always been. The ego, that sense of being a separate self, isn't the enemy here. It's more like a costume you put on to play in the world. The problem isn't that you have an ego. The problem is that you've forgotten you're wearing a costume. You've become so identified with the role you're playing that you've forgotten the actor underneath. You've become so absorbed in the story of your life that you've forgotten you're also the awareness in which the story appears. This forgetting creates a kind of beautiful prison. Beautiful because the ego is actually quite remarkable. It's creative, it's protective. It's the part of you that can love others and create art and solve problems. It's the part of you that can feel joy and sorrow and the full range of human experience. But it's also a prison because it convinces you that you are only this small, separate, vulnerable self, constantly under threat, constantly needing to defend and improve and justify your existence. The ego operates on the principle of separation. It says, I am this body, these thoughts, these emotions, this history, this personality. It says, I am different from you, and I need to compete with you or impress you or get love from you. It says, I was born and I will die, and in between, I need to make my mark, to matter, to be somebody special. And all of this creates a kind of chronic anxiety, a persistent sense that something is wrong, that you're not enough, that you need to be somewhere else or someone else to be truly happy. But here's the thing, the ego isn't solid. It's more like a cloud formation, constantly shifting, constantly changing. The you that you think you are is actually a collection of thoughts, memories, sensations, and identifications that come and go. If you pay close attention, you'll notice that your sense of self is actually quite fluid. The person you were as a child is different from the person you are now. Your thoughts change, your feelings change, your body changes, your opinions change. So, what is this I that you're so convinced is solid and permanent? This is where it gets interesting. If you start to investigate this sense of self, if you really look for who you are beneath all the thoughts and stories and identifications, you'll find something quite extraordinary. You'll find that there's an awareness that's been present through all the changes, a kind of witnessing consciousness that's been watching the whole show. This awareness doesn't change. It's the same awareness that was there when you were 5 years old, the same awareness that's here now, the same awareness that will be there when you're 90. It's not personal, it's not separate, and it's not small. It's the very ground of your being, the space in which all experience appears. The beautiful prison of the ego begins to dissolve when you realize that you're not trapped inside it. You're the space in which it appears. You're not the wave, you're the ocean. You're not the cloud, you're the sky. You're not the thoughts. You're the awareness in which thoughts arise and pass away. This doesn't mean the ego disappears. It means you stop being unconsciously identified with it. You can still function in the world, still have preferences and make decisions and relate to people, but you're no longer defending a fortress that was never really under attack. The mind, that magnificent instrument of thought and analysis, becomes a tyrant when it's all you think you are. We live in a culture that worships the mind, that sees thinking as the highest human function, that believes if you can just think your way through life, you'll be happy and successful and fulfilled. But the mind, for all its brilliance, is actually quite limited. It can only know through comparison, through division, through the creation of subject and object. It can analyze the wave, but it can't know the ocean. It can describe love, but it can't be love. It can think about presence, but it can't be present while it's thinking about presence. The tyranny of the mind begins innocently enough. As children, we learn to use thinking as a tool for understanding and navigating the world. We learn to plan, to remember, to solve problems. But gradually, thinking becomes not just something we do, but something we are. We become identified with our thoughts, convinced that the voice in our head is who we are. We begin to believe that happiness depends on having the right thoughts, that problems can be solved by thinking about them hard enough, that if we can just figure it all out, we'll be free. But thinking, by its very nature, is dualistic. It divides the world into this and that, good and bad, past and future, self and other. It's constantly comparing, judging, categorizing. It's like a knife that's very good at cutting things apart but can't put them back together. The mind can tell you about unity, but can't experience unity because the act of thinking creates separation. It can tell you about love, but it can't be love because love is a state of being, not a state of thinking. This is why so many people feel mentally exhausted, why meditation feels so impossible at first, why there's often a sense that no matter how much you think about your problems, you can't think your way out of them. The mind is like a computer that's been left on 24/7, constantly processing, constantly churning, constantly trying to figure out life. And just like a computer, it needs to be turned off sometimes. It needs to rest. It needs to stop being the master and remember its place as a servant. The paradox is that the mind can't think its way out of the tyranny of the mind. You can't solve the problem of overthinking by thinking about it more. You can't find peace by analyzing why you don't have peace. You can't discover your true nature by thinking about what your true nature might be. The mind is like a dog chasing its own tail. The harder it tries, the more elusive the goal becomes. Freedom from the tyranny of the mind doesn't come through destroying or suppressing thoughts. It comes through recognizing that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness in which thoughts appear. You are the space in which the mind operates. When you recognize this, something shifts. The thoughts keep coming, but they're no longer you. They're just phenomena arising and passing away in the vastness of your being. You can watch them like clouds in the sky, without getting caught up in them, without believing them all, without making them wrong. This recognition is simultaneously the most simple and the most profound thing you can discover. Simple because it's already here, already available, already what you are. You don't need to go anywhere or do anything or become anyone special to access it. Profound because it changes everything. When you stop being identified with the mind's endless commentary, when you stop believing that you are the voice in your head, a spaciousness opens up that's been here all along. In that spaciousness, you discover what you've always been, not a separate self trying to figure it all out, but loving awareness itself, infinite and eternal and utterly at peace. What if I told you that your deepest pain has been your greatest teacher? Not in some cruel cosmic joke, but in the most profound way possible. There's something about suffering that cuts through all our spiritual pretenses, all our ideas about how life should be, and drops us right into the raw truth of what is. When everything you thought you could count on falls apart, when loss strips away all your carefully constructed defenses, when you're brought to your knees by circumstances beyond your control, that's often when the real awakening begins. I spent years running from pain, thinking that enlightenment meant transcending suffering, rising above it somehow. But life has a way of bringing us exactly what we need, whether we think we want it or not. The stroke that took away my ability to speak clearly, to move freely, to be the person I thought I was, I initially saw it as a tremendous loss, but it became one of my greatest teachers. It showed me that grace isn't about getting what you want. It's about being present with what is, even when what is includes pain, limitation, frustration. Suffering is medicine, but not the kind we're used to. It's not medicine that makes the pain go away. It's medicine that transforms our relationship to pain. When we stop running from difficulty, when we stop trying to fix or change or escape our challenging circumstances, something extraordinary happens. We discover that we're much larger than our pain. We realize that we can hold suffering with love, that we can be present with discomfort without being destroyed by it. This doesn't mean becoming passive or resigned. It means recognizing that resistance to what's already here creates additional suffering. The first arrow is the pain itself, the loss, the illness, the betrayal, the disappointment. The second arrow is our story about the pain, our resistance to it, our belief that it shouldn't be happening, our attempts to escape or numb or fight what's already present. The first arrow is inevitable. The second arrow is optional. When you stop shooting the second arrow, when you stop making your pain mean something about your worth or your future or your spiritual development, you discover that pure pain is actually quite manageable. It's the stories we tell ourselves about pain that create suffering. It's the resistance, the "this shouldn't be happening," the "I can't handle this," the "what if it never gets better." That's where the real agony lives. But here's the deeper medicine. Suffering cracks open the heart. It dissolves the ego's pretense of being in control, of having life figured out, of being separate from the universal human experience of difficulty. When you're in pain, you can't pretend you're special or different or above it all. You're just a human being, vulnerable and tender and in need of love. And in that vulnerability, something opens that was closed before. A compassion that includes yourself, a recognition that everyone is carrying some form of pain, a softness that wasn't available when you were busy trying to be strong. This brings us to perhaps the most radical spiritual practice of all, loving what is. Not loving it because it's pleasant or because you understand it or because it fits your idea of how things should be, but loving it because it's here, because it's part of the tapestry of existence, because resistance to reality is the source of all psychological suffering. Loving what is doesn't mean being passive or not working for change. It means starting from a place of acceptance rather than resistance. When you're fighting with reality, you're fighting with an opponent that always wins. Reality is what's already here, what's already happened, what's already present. You can work to create different circumstances in the future, but you can't argue with what's already is. This is where spiritual practice gets practical. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" or "How can I get rid of this?" you start asking, "How can I love this?" or "What is this here to teach me?" or "How can I be present with this without making it my enemy?" These questions shift you from victim to participant, from someone life is happening to someone life is happening with. The mind will resist this completely. It will say, "But this is terrible. This is unfair. This is not what I wanted." And all of that may be true. But the question isn't whether something is pleasant or unpleasant, fair or unfair, wanted or unwanted. The question is, can you love yourself and life itself enough to be present with what's here without making it wrong? This isn't about becoming a doormat or accepting abuse or not seeking medical help when you're sick. It's about recognizing that your peace doesn't depend on circumstances being different than they are. It's about discovering that love is not just a feeling you have for pleasant things, but a way of being that can embrace all of life, including its difficulties. When you truly love what is, you discover something remarkable. You're not actually separate from life. You're not experiencing life. You are life experiencing itself. The pain you feel, the joy you feel, the fear you feel, it's all the same consciousness, the same awareness, the same love appearing in different forms. You're not a victim of life. You're life itself, playing at being human, playing at forgetting and remembering, playing at suffering and awakening. Now here's something that might surprise you. You're not actually going anywhere. All those spiritual books, all those workshops, all that seeking and striving and trying to become enlightened, it's all been a beautiful detour from a very simple truth. You are already what you're looking for. You are already the awareness you're seeking. You are already the love you're trying to find. The spiritual journey is the biggest illusion of all. It's like being in your house, frantically searching for your house. It's like being water, desperately trying to find water. It's like being the sky, convinced you need to reach the sky. The very one who is seeking is what you're seeking. The very awareness that's reading these words, that's present to this moment, that's been with you your entire life. That's it. That's what all the mystics are pointing to. That's what all the practices are designed to reveal. But here's why the journey happens anyway. Consciousness loves to play hide and seek with itself. It loves to pretend it's lost so it can have the joy of finding itself. It loves to create the illusion of separation so it can experience the bliss of union. It loves to forget so it can remember, to lose itself so it can find itself, to play at being small so it can discover its vastness. The spiritual journey is like a dream of seeking God. An awakening is like realizing you were God all along, dreaming of being a seeker. It's like being an actor who gets so lost in the role that they forget they're acting, and then suddenly remembers they're not actually the character. They're the one playing the character. But here's the beautiful part. Once you remember you're the actor, you can play the role even more fully because you're no longer afraid of losing yourself in it. This doesn't mean you stop growing or learning or deepening. It means you stop seeking what you already are. You stop trying to get somewhere else and start exploring where you are. You stop trying to become someone else and start discovering who you've always been. The journey continues, but it's no longer driven by lack or need or the belief that you're broken and need fixing. It's driven by love, by curiosity, by the joy of conscious participation in the mystery of existence. And this is where the sacred reveals itself in the most ordinary moments. You don't need to go to a temple or a mountaintop or a meditation retreat to find God. God is in the morning coffee, in the sound of rain, in the feeling of your feet on the ground. God is in the grocery store, in the traffic jam, in the conversation with your neighbor. God is in the frustration, in the boredom, in the moments when you're sure nothing spiritual is happening. The sacred isn't separate from the ordinary. The ordinary is where the sacred hides in plain sight. Every moment is a prayer. Every breath is a meditation. Every interaction is a chance to practice love. The spiritual life isn't about escaping the world. It's about falling in love with the world so completely that you see through its apparent separateness to the one consciousness that's playing all the parts. This is why Ram Dass could say that changing a diaper can be as spiritual as sitting in meditation. It's not about the activity, it's about the presence you bring to the activity. It's not about what you're doing, it's about the awareness that's doing it. When you're fully present with washing dishes, you're as close to enlightenment as you'll ever be. When you're completely here with taking out the trash, you're in the same consciousness that the greatest saints have pointed to. The sacred ordinary is about recognizing that there are no special moments and no ordinary moments. There are only moments, and they're all equally sacred because they're all equally expressions of the one consciousness that you are. Every moment is God meeting God, love meeting love, awareness aware of itself. There's a kind of dying that happens long before the body stops breathing. It's the dying of who you think you are, the gradual dissolution of all the identities you've collected like trophies, all the stories you've told yourself about who you're supposed to be. This dying isn't morbid or depressing. It's the most liberating thing that can happen to a human being. It's like taking off a heavy coat you didn't realize you were wearing, breathing freely for the first time in years. We spend so much energy maintaining our self-image, don't we? The successful person, the good parent, the spiritual seeker, the victim, the rebel, the caretaker, whatever roles we've assumed, we defend them fiercely. We collect evidence to support our story. We surround ourselves with people who confirm our narrative. We build entire lives around maintaining the illusion of being somebody particular. But what if you could let all of that go? What if you could die to the idea of being anyone special at all? This dying while living is what every spiritual tradition points to, though they call it different names. The Christians call it being born again. The Buddhists call it ego death. The Hindus call it moksha. But whatever you call it, it's the same process. The gradual recognition that you are not who you think you are, that you are infinitely more than any identity you could assume, that your true nature is so vast and so free that it can't be contained by any story. The beautiful thing about this dying is that nothing real is lost. When you let go of being the successful person, you don't lose your ability to succeed. You just stop deriving your identity from success. When you let go of being the good parent, you don't stop loving your children. You love them more freely without the burden of needing to be perfect. When you let go of being the spiritual seeker, you don't stop growing. You just stop seeking what you already are. This process usually happens gradually through 1,000 small deaths. Each time you catch yourself defending your image, each time you notice you're trying to be someone for someone else, each time you realize you're more than your latest thought or feeling, that's a little death, a little letting go. And with each letting go, you discover there's more space, more freedom, more love available. But sometimes it happens all at once, in moments of crisis or grace, when the whole edifice of who you think you are collapses. This can be terrifying for the ego, but it's liberation for the soul. It's like being in a burning building and finally realizing the exit has been there all along. The fire isn't destroying you, it's burning away everything that isn't you. This brings us to perhaps the most profound recognition of all. We are not separate. This isn't just a nice spiritual concept or a feel-good platitude. It's the most practical, urgent, necessary truth we can realize. Every act of separation, every moment of us versus them thinking, every belief that your well-being is separate from others' well-being, it's all based on a fundamental misunderstanding of what we are. When you look deeply into your own consciousness, when you investigate what you actually are beyond all the thoughts and stories and identifications, you discover something remarkable. The same awareness that's looking out of your eyes is looking out of everyone's eyes. The same consciousness that's reading these words is present in every human being, every animal, everything. We're all waves in the same ocean, all expressions of the same fundamental reality. This isn't poetry, it's direct experience. When you're truly present with another person, when you meet them beyond your stories about them and their stories about themselves, you recognize yourself. You see that their pain is your pain, their joy is your joy, their confusion is your confusion, their awakening is your awakening. You realize that helping them is helping yourself, that loving them is loving yourself, that their freedom is your freedom. This is why Ram Dass could say, we're all just walking each other home. We're all on the same journey, even when it looks different from the outside. We're all trying to remember who we really are, all trying to find our way back to love, all trying to make sense of this mystery of being human. And we're all each other's teachers, each other's mirrors, each other's opportunities to practice love. The person who triggers your anger is showing you where you're still attached to being right. The person who breaks your heart is showing you how much love you have to give. The person who seems to have it all figured out is showing you your own potential. The person who's struggling is showing you your own humanity. We're all walking each other home, sometimes as guides, sometimes as fellow travelers, sometimes as the very obstacles that force us to find another way. This interconnectedness isn't just spiritual, it's practical. Your happiness truly is connected to others' happiness. Your peace truly is connected to others' peace. Your awakening truly is connected to others' awakening. When you realize this, service becomes not something you do to be good, but something you do because you understand there's no real separation between serving others and serving yourself. And this leads us to the ultimate freedom, being nobody special. After all the seeking, all the trying to become someone, all the effort to be spiritual or successful or significant, there's a profound relief in discovering that you don't need to be anyone at all. You don't need to be the enlightened one, the healer, the teacher, the student. You don't need to be the person who has it all figured out or the person who's still learning. You can just be ordinary, beautifully, perfectly ordinary. Being nobody special doesn't mean being nothing. It means being everything, being so vast and so free that you can't be contained by any particular identity. It means being so full of love that you don't need to be lovable, so full of wisdom that you don't need to be wise, so full of light that you don't need to be enlightened. You're already everything you've been seeking to become. This ordinariness is the most extraordinary thing. It's like being a billionaire who's so wealthy they don't need to look wealthy, so secure they can dress in rags and still feel abundant. When you know what you really are, you don't need to prove it to anyone, including yourself. You can be perfectly ordinary, and that ordinariness is shot through with the sacred. The freedom of being nobody special is that you can be anybody, relate to anybody, love anybody. You're not protected by your specialness anymore, but you're not limited by it either. You can be with the CEO and the homeless person with the same presence. You can be in the palace and the prison with the same peace. You can be praised and criticized with the same equanimity. You're free to be authentically yourself because you've discovered there's no fix. Add self to be authentic to. This is the ultimate joke of spiritual life. You spend years trying to become somebody special, only to discover that your true nature is to be nobody special. You spend years trying to transcend the ordinary, only to discover that the ordinary is where the sacred has been hiding all along. You spend years trying to go somewhere else, only to discover that you're already home. And perhaps this is the deepest teaching of all, love. Not love as an emotion or a feeling, but love as the very fabric of existence, the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. You are not someone who sometimes loves, you are love itself, temporarily playing at being human. Every moment of your life is love meeting love, awareness recognizing itself, God experiencing God. This love doesn't depend on circumstances or other people or even your own state of mind. It's not something you feel, it's something you are. It's not something you give or receive, it's something you express and recognize. It's not something you find, it's something you remember you've never lost. When you truly understand this, when you feel it in your bones, everything changes and nothing changes. The world looks the same, but you see it differently.